Hello everyone, welcome to this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. It's great having you on the channel today. We are talking about two areas, one in the eastern Gulf, right over Florida. Over the next week or so, we may have something try to spin up out of this. More importantly, out here into the MDR, we could be talking about a big system trying to develop, and it could be affecting the eastern Caribbean islands. We'll see where that could go, and if there's any other possibilities of storms, let's get into it. And we're going to talk about what's popping up here on the European model as we head towards the middle of the month. What is this in the Caribbean? Right around the middle of the month, we're going to discuss this. All right, so we're starting off here with the GFS, and then we'll progress over towards the European model most importantly here. So we're starting off as we get through October 3rd here. Ultimately, what's going to happen here in the Gulf across Florida, we'll see these areas of showers and thunderstorms flare up. As I said before, there's not going to be too much in the way of major intensification. If anything that would develop would be on the slow side. So there you go through the weekend. Ultimately, there's a couple areas out here. You can see our big tropical wave out here. Also this across parts of the Central American area, Honduras, Belize, Nicaragua. Just west of Jamaica here, you're going to be seeing some heavy rain with this. And look at this, a flare-up right around the Bahamas. Now, here is our big system. If I just back this up, I want to show you where this originates. So it's way down here. And then some energy comes off the coast of the Cape Verde area. And this is very unusual for this time of year to have an outline way out here into the MTR. And as you can see, as we head through October 8th into the 9th, this really does start to take some development as it approaches the Lesser Antilles. So we're going to be watching this very closely next week. GFS is slower with the development than the Euro. It's also a bit further to the north here. You also see right over here a tropical wave right around Cayman Islands, Cancun area. We'll be watching this very closely as it tries to move towards the Gulf with very little fanfare north of it. It does get drawn out into this area of low pressure through the Bahamas and South Florida, though. Now, all eyes are going to be on our potential tropical storm, maybe a hurricane, as it bears down on the Virgin Islands. Now, a lot can change between now and then. I want to show you the GFS difference here, and the European is quite a bit different with the pattern here. High pressure is way up here off the East Coast. It's going to be further south on the Euro. But you see the strung out frontal boundary? That would help this system on this scenario. Yeah, it would develop into a major hurricane, but it would help pull this system to the north with a nor'easter style system off the East Coast. And that would allow this system across parts of the Western and Northwestern Caribbean, which is a different system, tropical wave, to try to develop here. There it is on our last frame on October 14th. You see a big area of showers and thunderstorm action here. So we'll keep a very close watch on it. Either solution, we're looking very stormy here into the Caribbean. And going forward just a few more frames here, ultimately you can see what's going to be happening. Massive area of heavy rain and thunder showers from the Cayman Islands, Honduras, Belize, parts of the Yucatan Peninsula here, all the way over to Jamaica, eastern tip of Cuba, through Haiti as well. So this looks more of a generalized, massive heavy rain threat that may develop some sort of tropical storm out of this mess. Let's take a look at the Euro. Thanks to Tropical Tidbits for our European tropical model analysis. So there is that big old mess. We're going to be zooming into this momentarily in the Eastern Gulf through the northern Bahamas with that stalled out frontal boundary. Also, all eyes are going to be on this area out into the MDR, into the Eastern Caribbean. As we stretch through the weekend, Saturday into Sunday, you can see what's being happening here. It is quite interesting. You know, this area, it's any development would be slow, but at this point, it doesn't look like anything tremendous. We'll be keeping a really close eye as we head into Monday next week as this low pressure system tries to take root east of the Lesser Antilles. And look at this. As we head through Wednesday next week, October 8th, into Thursday, October 9th, you can see European is also showing a tropical system, just like the GFS, landfalling here through the Northeast Caribbean islands. Also, look at this. We do have a potential tropical low moving through the Bahamas here and maybe up the coast here, off the coast of the Carolinas. Now, look at this. European going with a hurricane right, it looks like right on the north coast of Puerto Rico here. So we'll have to watch this. And then it starts to shift southward on the European model as high pressure starts to exert its force. This is much different than the GFS model. So this is a development we'll have to keep an eye on. This shows a landfalling hurricane across the island of Hispaniola, right across Dominican Republic and towards Haiti, and then down into the Caribbean, re-strengthening, and another landfall right around Jamaica. This would be really, really intense. And look at this, 948 millibar, 946 millibar. Yeah, we're going to get into this here with the European model. Let's zoom in. All right, so zooming in here, yeah, ultimately, as we go through time, you can see this weekend showers and thunderstorms around Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, up through the Eastern Gulf as well, northern Bahamas. Showers and thunderstorms. This is a pretty strong tropical wave. We'll have to watch around Cancun. Now, watch as we put this into motion next week. Here is the system that we're going to watch. The Euro is going crazy with this, as I just showed you. Look at this. Yeah. There is a hurricane right on the north coast of Puerto Rico, moving up like this, and then as high pressure builds southwestward, a lot can change between now and then. So please stay tuned. But look at this, landfalling hurricane right across Dominican Republic and Haiti, and then re-strengthening with another landfall right around Jamaica. And then deep intensification through the Cayman Islands down to 950 millibars, 946 there. Look at this, Friday, October 17th. Starting to enter the Gulf is a 935 millibar hurricane. As I said, please proceed with caution because a lot can change between now and then, but that is very interesting that the Euro is showing this. And it's not just that. Look at this. This is a series of massive tropical waves behind it. This looks very strange for October. Sea surface temperature analysis is insane here for the Gulf. It's just so strange we haven't seen a tropical system pop up. Look at the Caribbean as well. Really super warm. And the Western Caribbean, Central America, rainfall amounts, yeah, you'll be mostly light through the rest of the week here, Jamaica into the Cayman Islands. Through at least the latter part of the weekend, you will see some scattered showers and thunder showers. But the big show is going to be later. Look at Cancun next week. You start to rack up these 125 millimeter amounts, and then look at this. Yeah, if the European does verify on this hurricane, look at some areas could be approaching 300 to 400 millimeters. Please stay tuned if you're in the northern and especially the northwestern Caribbean here as well, because this could be quite a storm if this verifies. Even the northern Bahamas with this potential tropical system upwards of 200 millimeters. And the Western Caribbean, Central America for GFS rainfall totals, especially as we head into next week. Look at Central America. There's a bullseye right around Belize here, close to 600 millimeters. That is insane. North coast of Honduras, right at close to 200 millimeters. Now, look at as we get towards the middle of the month. Yeah, we're getting some heavy rain here in Jamaica as well, upwards of 60 millimeters in some of these areas. West central parts of Dominican Republic up to 220 millimeters. Look at this. Yeah, this was whatever happens with this system here, just like on the Euro. The Euro is obviously developing a massive hurricane, but this is more of a drawn-out area of low. Look at that. Yeah, parts of Belize. This would be devastating. Look at eastern tip of Cuba as well. 500 millimeters. So Jamaica, close to some areas upwards of 250 millimeters. Cayman Islands as well. We'll keep an eye on it here. And here we are into the Eastern Caribbean. Look at this. Yeah, we're seeing some tropical wave action. There's that potential hurricane showing up through the northern and Lesser Antilles, parts of Puerto Rico. This could get pretty interesting. Look at this. 600 millimeters of rainfall here through parts of the northern, just northeast of St. Croix here in Puerto Rico. That's some pretty intense. If this were to verify, parts of St. Croix could get upwards of 6-7 inches. Puerto Rico about 3 to 4 inches. And heading into the Eastern Caribbean here, look at this. Yeah, this looks pretty interesting with some tropical wave action initially into early to middle part of next week. Then we get the big show here with our potential storm and hurricane bringing some heavy rain. This scenario would deflect a lot of it to the north and east, but some areas in the Lesser Antilles here getting upwards of 120, 150 millimeters of rainfall. Puerto Rico, you look like around 1 to 2 inches right around St. Croix as well. Dominican Republic, yeah. Eastern part looks a little light, 40 to 60 millimeters, but there's that bullseye of 277 millimeters in west central parts of Dominican Republic. Thanks to Tropical Tidbits for our mid-layer dry air analysis. Yeah, you can see there's going to be a lot of more green showing up here. So only some areas of dry air, but look at this. Our system that gets cranking here on the GFS anyways, you can see that moist flow really happening. And as we take a look at the Euro, I want to show you this. The Euro is even more optimistic as far as really heavy amounts of moisture. Yeah, behind it here, the MDR dries out, but look at this. Yeah, there's very little dry air wrapping around our potential hurricane here, and you can see there's a surge of moisture behind it as well. And for those of you who want to see any significant wind just over the oceans, you can see it's pretty light here for the most part, except in the North Atlantic. You do see, as we go through time, there's some heavy wind here, right around 25, 34 knots off the southeast coastline here. Now, as we get this system cranking out here into the MDR, Eastern Caribbean, that's where we're going to see those winds, gather pretty intensely here. We're going to see, if we get this out of the way, upwards of 50, 60 knot widespread here as we get these pressure gradients to the north. So watch out. Yeah, we could have a developing maybe potential hurricane here. If that were to hold true, all these high pressure systems to the north would help this pressure gradient. You'd see a lot of these heavier winds, upwards of 34, upwards of 40 knot widespread. Now let's take our wind shear analysis. Yes, the Eastern Gulf up here through Florida, there's some pretty intense wind shear here. That's why that area in the Eastern Gulf isn't quite as, prevalent. It's a lot of shear right overhead. Now, as we get through time, look at the MDR out here where our potential system is going to develop. There's very little to almost no wind shear. And as this thing gets cranking, it's got a very good development environment here. And there it is. It's pretty well protected to the north by high pressure. Yeah, there's this area well to the north of wind shear up here across parts of the Central Gulf. But look at this. The Caribbean is pretty free from wind shear. So where it goes from there, it will remain to be seen if this scenario plays out. And looking at our future radar here, ultimately the big show is going to be across Florida here and just off the coast of the Carolinas. You can see high pressure is pretty much in control as we head through Friday morning. It's Florida down here in southeastern Louisiana into the Gulf. That's where we're going to see, the issues that are going to ensue as we continue through time here. So look at that. Yeah, the Bahamas. This is stretching through 2 p.m. on Saturday. So there you have it. That's the only area in town right around our potential tropical wave area. And here we are with picking up where our future radar left off with the GFS model, and then I'll show you the European. So here it is. Yeah, all eyes are on our potential tropical moisture. Do I really think something's going to develop out of this? Very slim chance, but we're going to be watching it. High pressure sliding off the coast come the middle of next week. You can see we do get the chance of some heavier rain, showers, and thunderstorms in these two areas. So that could be good news for the Ohio Valley, into the eastern Great Lakes in the northeast as we stretch into the 7th and 8th, and into eastern New England, parts of New York City, Boston, Delmarva area. That pushes off the coast as we get high pressure building in for the 9th and the 10th. Now look what starts to develop once again. We may have some sort of coastal low try to take over just off the East Coast with a few impulses of energy behind it. Look at this one in particular, right around the 16th, dropping down. We could have a mesoscale convective system across parts of eastern Ohio, western Pennsylvania. That lifts towards parts of New England with a coastal low trying to develop here. So pretty interesting, very fast-moving flow. Look at behind it, though, on the 18th. Looking beautiful with high pressure building in. And let's pick up where our future radar left off on the European run. All eyes are going to be on the eastern and central Gulf here through the southeast coast, the northern Bahamas in particular. As we head throughout the weekend, you can see this high pressure building off the New England coastline here. That's going to help this train of moisture really start to make it into Georgia here, eastern Georgia. So watch out. There could be some flooding problems here. Look at this showing up Tuesday of next week, though, right around the 7th. This looks like some very heavy rain and thunderstorms sinking into western Ohio, Indiana. these areas, watch out, a mesoscale convective system may develop out of this. And a cold front does try to make its way through, so maybe some beneficial rain. It's a little more optimistic than the GFS in bringing you some rain. Also watching the Western Gulf down here, off the southeast coast as well. We may have a low trying to develop here. Look at this. You can see the bend in the isobars. That's a trough snaking its way off the outer banks here through the 12th into the 13th. There's another system that kind of moves up and over this ridge of high pressure. This is a very stubborn ridge, by the way, as most of you already know. But look at by the 14th, showers and thunderstorms making its way back into the Ohio Valley. And here's another storm system, looks stronger. This could actually bring some severe weather into the area right around Thursday, October 16th here. Look at this. Strong lines of showers and thunderstorms through Ohio, western New York, western Pennsylvania. This is insane. Yeah, we're going to keep our eyes on this down here. And precipitation totals on the European model, mostly in the Gulf, all the way through the east coast of Florida, just off the Carolinas. Look at this, though. As we head towards the middle of the month, those of you in the Ohio Valley, Eastern Great Lakes, and Appalachians may get your chance at 1 to 2, maybe 3 or 4 inches of rain in some areas. Down here across southeastern Louisiana and Florida, you could have some of these areas getting 5, 6, close to 7 inches of rain. And GFS rainfall totals here. Look at Florida through southeastern Louisiana there. That is some pretty intense rainfall. Yeah, up here in the Ohio Valley, northeast, you'll see some areas close to an inch here, down and through the Carolinas. But look at eastern Georgia here, coastal Georgia, 5 to 7 inches, close to 9 inches. All the way down the East Florida coast, upwards of 5 to 10 inches, some areas close to 11. And southeastern Louisiana, right around 5 to 6 inches. And before we continue with more weather coverage, don't forget, smash that like button, everyone. It really does help. Question or comment down below. I love to respond and read your questions or comments. Subscribe if you haven't already. Bell notification button so you're alerted with all my future weather video updates. I am working on my winter 2025-26 outlook, so be sure to watch out for that. Let's continue with more weather coverage. And our NAO Index is going positive. We're just neutral. We will be positive through the rest of the month, although actually, I don't want to say the rest of the month here because we'll be going closer to neutral by the middle of the month, and we could try to trend lower, maybe negative as we head later on into October. That could be more storminess. And let's see how our MJO index is. You can see right here, we are right around, 2 into 1. So we're going to be trending slowly more stormy as we head throughout October, as we head towards phase 1 and 8. And here we are with the 500 millibar height anomaly. You can see that ridge just building throughout the East Coast. This is one stubborn ridge. Many of you know this, though. You've been dealing with this extremely dry air. We get a few of these troughs that do try to move through, one around the 7th, 8th, and 9th. That builds in another ridge, but look at this across parts of the Eastern Gulf. That's where we may see some stormy conditions really crop up here with our potential hurricane. We'll keep an eye on it here. But look at this, closer to the center part of the month, right around the 17th. Look at that massive trough. And here we are in the Western Pacific. We have Tropical Storm Matmo here on its way to becoming a typhoon. Thankfully, this is not going to become like a super typhoon. But as you can watch here, up by Japan, we got a synoptic system that's keeping you clear of these tropical systems. South Korea looks pretty dry, as well as South China here initially. Now look at here through October 4th. Typhoon just south and west of Hong Kong. Moving through Haikou here, and then towards the South China, northern Vietnam area by October 5th here. So watch out. Good news is not a super typhoon, but it's going to be a very heavy rainmaker. We'll go over those rainfall amounts momentarily. As we stretch through October 7th into the 8th, you see a few of these tropical waves behind it. They do start to line up. We'll have to watch any of these. First one moving into Taiwan right around October 9th, and a bigger tropical wave moving towards the Philippines here. So we head towards October 10th into the 11th, you can see. But it seems like most large-scale areas of major development are kind of put on hold at the moment. Lots of tropical, or I shouldn't say tropical, synoptic systems here to the north across Japan and South Korea towards the middle of the month. And looking here, precipitation amounts in the Western Pacific. There's our tropical system cruising from the northern Philippines to northern Vietnam, South China. Looks like initially Japan and South Korea getting some rain, but things dry out for the most part. And then reignites towards the center of the month. So yeah, you'll have some nice dry days in between here. Northern Philippines upwards of 200 millimeters towards northern Vietnam and South China as well. So yeah, some areas could get 150, close to 200 millimeters here into Japan. And taking a look at our Canadian weather outlook, this is where things are going to get interesting along the west coast. We've got some very strong weather storm systems moving in. Also, here on October 3rd, maybe some thunderstorms across parts of Saskatchewan, Manitoba. We'll have to watch as this vigorous area of low pressure moves northward and eastward through Ontario and Quebec throughout the weekend here. This one bears watching. This could bring some not only heavy rain, but maybe some wet snowflakes on the back side of this system across Manitoba and Ontario here. But that lifts to the northeast towards Hudson Bay. You can see across parts of southern Ontario and Quebec, we see this system moving through right around the 7th and 8th. So watch out for some big gully washers here moving through New Brunswick and Nova Scotia right around October 8th. Big area of high pressure building in behind it. You see British Columbia getting a little break here. It's pretty dry, unfortunately, out here through Alberta where those wildfires were burning, especially earlier in the season here. That was not good. But hopefully we can get some rain for you here as we head towards October 11th and the 12th. You see these areas of low pressure really winding up across Manitoba and Ontario, and that's going to push a very vigorous front through southern Ontario and Quebec. You could see some strong thunderstorms with gusty winds through southern parts of Ontario and Quebec here. That's moving through New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, and eventually the Canadian Maritimes with another big system moving into British Columbia here come the middle of the month. And Canadian rainfall amounts here, west coast and into western Ontario, southeastern Manitoba and Saskatchewan here. We're going to watch out for some very heavy rain and maybe some snow on the backside here. Look at the west coast, British Columbia upwards of 200 to 300 millimeters. Also through the southern prairies here into western parts of Ontario, we could be talking about some areas getting close to 150 millimeters with lesser amounts 40 to 60 millimeters further east. And if we take a look at high temperatures here, this is crazy. Look at this, 90s into the Midwest and the plains. We are in the nice 70s along the East Coast here, stretching into the eastern Great Lakes as well. Into Saturday, it just looks beautiful. Look at most areas in the upper 70s to around 80, these upper 80s near 90, all the way up to Minnesota. That is pretty intense for October. But look what starts to happen here. Yeah, the bottom starts to fall out on temperatures as we get a massive cold front there, 50s to the west. Look at these 80s bubbling up eastward here as we head into Monday, October 6th. Look at this. Surge of warmth continues. Nice 80s into Monday. Let's see how far east. You can see the air mass starting to modify. 60s across parts of the Midwest. So not as cold as those 50s, but there it is. 60s making its way into northern Ohio, New York, Pennsylvania, and northern New England by Wednesday, October 8th. The extended forecast from Binghamton to Scranton's upper Susquehanna River Valley of New York and Pennsylvania, my hometown viewers. Look at this. Yeah, it's not going to be frosty tonight. It's just going to be chilly, upper 30s to around 40 into Friday into the weekend. Look at this. Sunny skies. You can't ask for a better weekend. Sunny and into the upper 70s to lower, right around 80 degrees into Monday as well. We do start to get some shower and thunderstorm action as we head towards Tuesday with a frontal boundary moving in. Plenty more weather to come. Here is a look at my affiliate. Check out these awesome, amazing maps. I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code. As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather Eastern. Don't forget it's MeteoMark.com, and don't forget, if you want to send me a coffee, there is a link, Super Thanks. You can smash that Super Thanks button, or my PayPal link in the description down below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thanks everyone, share that video, subscribe if you haven't, smash that like button.